Okay, so a lot has happened since we last left. When we last left, we were in the small town of Roosevelt, and I was in that little market that was just on the at the top of the hill from where I camped. Since then, I've been biking for a very long time, hours and hours and hours, and I noticed that I couldn't really get any speed for some reason. I didn't know what was going on, and I heard a couple pops, but I thought they were just rocks until I heard the second pop, and I decided to get down and take a look at my bike, and because I noticed, I looked down when I heard the second pop, and I noticed that my wheel was wobbling, my back wheel was wobbling, and I thought, well, that's not good. So you know I'm gonna be stranded out here in the middle of nowhere. So I hopped off and I took a look at my bike, and apparently some of my spokes just broke off. So I don't really know what causes that or how that happens. Probably from all the weight that I have on my bike. But two spokes popped off, and I'm like, well, I'm in the middle of fucking nowhere. What am I gonna do? How am I gonna get through this wasteland? Which I didn't take any pictures of. It was pretty for about the first 50 miles, and then I was like, alright, I'm done with this scenery. I'm done with the tumbleweeds and the big rocks everywhere and the huge open wind-swept plains, because you can look at the area and tell that they have some gnarly winds. And you can see all the hay, it all lays flat, pointing towards the east, so you can tell that they have a westbound wind, like we were talking about in the last video. And so I guess I'm lucky that there wasn't, there wasn't any headwinds. But so I kept biking, and I thought, well, I'll just reach the next town. The next town is Biggs. It's like 30 miles away from where I was at. So I was like, shit, that's a long way to go, especially with a tire that's doing weird things and spokes that are popping off, and and I don't really know what's happening. But I moved some of my weight to the front of the bike, and I just kept biking and hoping that I could make it to at least to Biggs. Yeah, I know, Final Fantasy reference, right? The town is called Biggs, and it's pretty much just one truck stop and an inn and a McDonald's. But I'm biking along, and I hear, bam! There's a third spoke. A third spoke pops off, and at this point, I don't want to put any undue stress on the back tire, so I'm walking up hills and on flat lands, and I'm only riding the bike, just coasting downhill. So I'm walking the majority of the 30 miles. It's hotter than dog shit, and I'm sweating so much it's dripping into my eyes, and the salt is burning my eyes, and if I bend over to look at anything, the salt drips off my eyebrows and onto my glasses, so I can't fucking see anything. And I'm getting really frustrated and really mad. I'm starting to hate life because I'm sunburnt. You may be able to see that I've got a little color on me, maybe not with this camera. My forearms and my face and the back of my neck, I'm pretty well burnt up, because I went bike riding through a desert. And and it is a desert. It's not a desert like in Kuwait where there's sand everywhere, and in the morning there's ice caked over everything. But it's still a desert. It's still pretty barren. And so I was biking through that, and the third spoke popped, and I was running out of water, and there wasn't a fucking thing for miles. Like, and one thing I can't figure out, why the hell couldn't they put a bridge somewhere? In the last 70 friggin' miles that I just biked, there was one bridge, the Highway 14 97 junction. That's it. That's the only bridge across, unless I wanted to go east, and I didn't. So, but like, seriously, just one small bridge. I mean, you can look across the river and you can see the freeway where people are driving, and it's like, really, we can't have just one small bridge here? Nothing. No. So it was hot. I'm running out of water. I'm sunburnt. My bike's taking a shit on me, and so I decided to, throw the old thumb out and see if I can hitch a ride. Lots of cars pass me by, and it makes me really mad, of course, because I take things personally, and I got kind of frustrated. And then finally, one guy stops, and I guess he had passed me going down, and then he found a place to turn around, and he came back. He ended up, he turned out to be this really cool guy, world traveler, traveled all over the place, you know, works as a geologist, currently in Nicaragua, but, you know, came back to his old stomping grounds for a few days to do some river rafting. So yeah, cool, good for him, right? So he throws my bike in the back of his truck, and he drives me all the way to Bend, Oregon. I don't know if you guys know where Bend is, but he drove me over 250 miles. And Bend is a good-sized town, city, actually, it's a city. It's a good-sized city. It has bike shops, and I'm going to go hit up one tomorrow and see if I can't get my bike fixed. And that's where I am right now. He even was so kind as to take me to the cheapest hotel in the city that also happens to have Wi-Fi. So, and they have some kind of a breakfast thing in the morning, and yeah, it was $35. But you know, considering that I hadn't spent more than like $18 in the last 3 days, you know, I think I can splurge a little on a room, especially since we got here at nightfall. We got here at night, and I really didn't like the prospect of trying to find some place to camp somewhere and trying to set up camp at night. So I opted for to get a cheap hotel. Yeah, and also let me say this: the 200 and some odd miles that we drove through Bend, I got to take a look at the scenery, and it was all barren wasteland, the whole friggin' thing. And I was going to be biking down the 97, which is what we took. When we got to Biggs, we crossed over to the Oregon side at the 1497 junction, and you know, 2 miles after that is Biggs. It's right there. It's that truck stop just right there. And you know, we headed south out of Biggs on the 97, which is the way that I was going to bike. That's how I was gonna, you know, proceed south. And it was a mess. Actually, it wasn't a mess. It wasn't anything. There was nothing there. It was one of the most barren places I've ever seen. It was more desolate than the area I just rode through. All it was hills, followed by long stretches of wind-swept plains, because they get gnarly winds too. And you know they do, because they've got windmills posted. Windmill generated power. Apparently they've only been there for a year. Apparently that's something good that Obama's done in alternative energy stuff. He's just posted windmills all over the place. So there wasn't a farmhouse. There was nothing. It was all a bunch of state-owned land that was fenced off, so it would have been harder than hell to find a place to camp. And it was nothing but rocks and rattlesnakes and hay for like 200 miles. And every so often, every 40 miles, there was like a lone farmhouse somewhere. And that's it. Way out in the middle of nowhere. And like, honestly, he probably saved me like 4-5 days. I mean, I've been biking on an average of 44 miles a day-ish. So 44 or 250 miles divided by 44, that's how many days he's saved me in biking. And not just in biking, but in biking through that desolate area where I surely would have run out of water. And you know, shit, I don't even know how I would have traveled through that with less than like 6 liters of water, maybe even more like 9, because I refill quite often. But goddamn, that man did me a favor. We didn't even exchange names. Did you know that? I don't even know his name. He doesn't even know mine. But he's an interesting person, and he saved me a lot of time.